What's up, everybody? It's Tom. We're going to talk about this list of the top 50 free agents for this offseason from Ben Clemens of Fangraphs. We're going to talk about my free agent wish list. I boiled this down to a very specific wish list, and I just know that I'm setting myself up for failure, setting myself up for disappointment here. Usually I don't get that specific. In years past, I've usually taken a list like this, taken the predicted contracts out of it and ranked like a top 10 list of these are the guys at these contracts I'm most interested in. In a members only video I recently did, I realized this boils down to a few key pieces, a few key players to me that really stick out as X factors for the Minnesota Twins. Let's get right into it. First off, I think shortstop is a great way to start. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to be addressing Aaron Judge in this one. The top free agent in the market. It's hard for me to see the Twins get involved in that, but, I would have never expected Carlos Correa to have been a Twin. So you take that for what it's worth. But you can see here I have the shortstops from last season ranked by Fangraphs WAR, and the green highlighted players are all the guys who are free agents this year. And as you see, there are some good options. Our guy Carlos Correa came in at 9th behind the other three big names, Xander Bogaerts, Trey Turner, and Dansby Swanson. I showed Elvis Andrus on this. He's not a guy that really catches my eye. I'm more focused on these top four guys, but I wanted to share that. Now, Fangraphs WAR or any one number isn't the end-all, be-all, but I think this was an interesting way to frame this conversation because if we now factor in the projected contracts for each of these guys, you can see that again, Dansby Swanson was the number one guy on that list. He is by far projected for the worst contract out of all these shortstops. This is the thrift shopper in me coming out. But, I look at these four guys, not to say that they're interchangeable, but as you see here, I have their rank listed out on where they were on this top 50 list, 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 8th. These are all really good players. These are all all-star caliber shortstops. I'm not all that caught up in which one of these guys. I think Carlos Correa would be preferable to get the guy that's been in this clubhouse, to get the guy that knows this team. But we're talking more than twice as much money that's being projected to him. Now, again, this is just one source. These are Ben Clemens of Fangraphs, projected contracts for these four guys. But if this shakes out anywhere similar to this, I would be much more interested in snatching up Dansby Swanson at that 6-year, 144, a $24 million average annual value, and having $6 to $8 million to devote elsewhere. And not that we're being cheap. We're looking for other ways to address this club because, let's be honest here. They had Carlos Correa last year, and there wasn't enough there. I'm not blaming Correa for the Twins' season going south, but I think that's just an example of this team isn't that one superstar guy away. They need more than that. And this wasn't necessarily a thought that I love looking at these lists because these are the kinds of things that I come out with. I'm very much on the Carlos Correa bandwagon. I want him to come back, but I look at these numbers and I'm going Dansby Swanson if you're going to make me pick one of those. Beyond shortstop, pitching. Always pitching. Everybody needs pitching, of course. And the guy that really sticks out to me is Carlos Rodon. What we have up here is the Fangraphs WAR. I'm going to use this again for pitchers over the last 2 seasons combined. And as you see there, Carlos Rodon only ranks behind Corbin Burns and Zach Wheeler. He's the 3rd best pitcher in baseball over this 2-year stretch. Hasn't pitched quite as many innings. You can see there on the right column. Yes, there's lots of injury concerns. I think those injury concerns kind of are affecting his value and making him signable for a team like the Twins potentially. I'm not to discredit them or to say, just trust that this guy's going to be healthy. There are red flags, certainly. But I think this is a huge opportunity to get a true number one type starter in Carlos Rodon. This is the guy, speaking of, how I usually would rank the top 10 of these contracts. He was the number one guy on my last offseason that I wanted the Twins to get based on the type of contracts he was projecting. He backed up that year, that big 2021 with another great 2022. As you can see, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball the last 2 years. So what is the projected contract for him? Ben Clemens has it at 5 years, $120 million total. That's a $24 million average annual value. As you can see, the crowdsource numbers are a little higher than that. I would be comfortable going up to those. Again, this really seems like the biggest missing piece. Obviously, the Twins don't have a shortstop in-house right now. That's definitely a concern. But something that's holding them back that they haven't had, is a top-of-the-rotation starter. We've all talked about this so much until we're blue in the face. Most teams need starting pitching, but it's certainly been a central piece. So I am that invested in getting Carlos Rodon that he is the one name that I am obsessed with on the starting pitching market that I would love for them to get. I think these contract projections are completely reasonable for a guy of his talent. Now, I want to mention these other guys I have in this chart here with Jacob deGrom, Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw. Would obviously love to have any of those guys on the Twins. I think I'm not really considering them either. I'm kind of taking them off the board, similar with Judge, because I think these guys are either going to return to the teams they were with or really prioritize going to a team that is on the verge of the World Series. Not a team that might, isn't punting, that isn't tanking, but they're going to look for a great team on the verge of a World Series, I think, or close to home, wherever they may be from. They'll have. Well, basically, what I'm saying is, I don't think these guys are going to be motivated to go to Minnesota, and they will have many other options than that. Carlos Rodon, it's not like he's going to get a discount from the Twins. We're going to have to pay up on him. It's not like this is some huge destination for free agents. But again, last offseason, so many teams didn't find him that attractive, Carlos Rodon, on the open market. So it seems like there's a potential for that to happen again. I would love to see the Twins swoop in and be aggressive and get this guy. But again, yes, deGrom, Verlander, and Kershaw are all free agents. I just don't see a pathway for them to be Minnesota. It's hard for me to envision that. I'm not saying I'm not interested in them. It's just really hard for me to envision that happening. So Rodon is definitely the guy that I'm obsessed with on the starting pitching market. Now, I also think beyond just a shortstop, the Twins could use a bat in general. So I threw this together. It's all these free agents ranked by weighted runs created plus. And then I threw down here some of the other guys that, I just don't see the Twins going after. In addition to Judge, I threw Brandon Nimmo in there too. I just don't see them investing that much in an outfielder. But some of these other names, along with those 4 big shortstops we already talked about, I threw in a couple other names just for reference. But I want to point out that 5th guy there, Wilson Contreras, who is a catcher. The Twins already have said they're looking for more catching. I think in addition to improving the catching position, Wilson Contreras, as you see here, based off weighted runs created plus, that is a metric that is league averaged at 100. So when you go up, you're that much higher than league average, and it's sort of neutralized. He is a big-time addition as a bat, let alone just a catcher. Now, as a catcher, he's not as good defensively or pitch framing as Orion Jeffers, but he has a reputation as being a good throw guy. And if we're being honest, how much longer are we going to have an umpire strike zone that's not automated in some way? So I really would project that catcher framing is something that's going to be that's going to be less valuable, probably over the term of the contract that Wilson Contreras is going to be signing. And I think just from his offensive potential, this is a guy that can DH on his off days and not be, bringing your lineup down like Gary Sanchez was. This is a guy that can be a legit DH. This is a guy who, in addition to catching, can be a legit upgrade to the lineup. So Wilson Contreras is another guy that I really come away with being impressed by and really thinking that he could be a great addition to elevate the catching situation on the Twins. As you see, Ben Clemens projected him for 4 years and $80 million. I mean, you look at that number compared to those shortstops. We talked about how much cheaper that Swanson was. This is way cheaper than all those shortstops. And your catcher is a premium position to me. Now, he's 31 years old. So a 4-year contract for a 31-year-old catcher, you'd certainly project him to wear down over time. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. And actually, the crowdsource numbers are lower than Clemens. So I'm really looking at this guy and thinking, gosh, that's we're talking baseball money. Talking baseball money. It's crazy money, but that's not crazy baseball money to get a guy like Wilson Contreras, who's, gives you a chance to be one of the better catching tandems in all of baseball if you put him with Jeffers. So I really like the idea of him too. So to break this down, again, I've gotten very specific. I am setting myself up for disappointment here. My wish list is basically that they land 2 out of these 3 players. One of those top 4 shortstops, Carlos Rodon and Wilson Contreras. If they can get 2, any combination of those 2, that would be 2 of the top 10 free agents in baseball. There's 30 teams. I think that would be a pretty good outcome for the Twins to be able to land 2 of the top 30 free agents. Now, these are positions that they have the bullpen concerns too. I'm not saying this would just fix the whole team. These would be the big additions of the offseason. I expect the Twins to be active on the trade market. Again, I expect them to be, signing some bullpen pieces potentially and doing some other things. But I think if they could have 2 of these 3 guys' positions, again, the shortstops of Correa, Turner, Bogarts, and Swanson, one of those 4, Carlos Rodon, Wilson Contreras, any combination of those 2, I think that would be amazing. I think that would be tremendous. That is my wish list. That is what I would love to see. Let me know what you think. We're going to dive way deeper into especially the bullpen arms and kind of take a more microscopic look into this free agent class. But, I recorded a video for the members. Sorry if some of this is repetitive. This is repackaged, so some of it should be new. But if you watch that video, some of this will be repeated. I just really got stuck in this line of thinking for this 2 out of those 3. But thank you so much to all the members. Thank you to these premium members. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.